We are live.
Hi, Scott. Welcome to Awakening in Truth.
So I start recording and surprise you because if I don't start it, we'll be talking all night. Starlight was hanging outside the door. We were talking for a
Yeah.
long time. And then he comes and gets up here and lays down. It's a signal for us to get on with this show and the journey. Because he likes to go, and I like him to go with me on these journeys. When he's really ready to go, he doesn't disturb the journey at all. He's out of his body right now, meeting with Torelli and other people above the earth. And so it's kind of a signal for me because he's a kitty on earth, but he's telepathic. There's a little sphere of light, an atma above this body running it, called that. And then there's one above me, see, and one above you. And the atma, because it's not physical, can be in the middle of the skull. It can be over here. It can be back here. It can be a mile away or on another planet and running this body. Time and space are not limits for the atma, the real us. You should show the radio audience again that image back there that you have.
Okay. Okay. Hold on.
There we go.
Here we go. Hold on. Sorry.
Because that image, and you got to hold it still so the camera can focus. Camera's focus. Okay. That's actually not the best image. I guess that's the right one. But anyway, it shows you the depth of the spherical round, like a planet or a moon or a sun, that an atma or soul looks like. We look like this. This is what's made in the image of the source or prime creator, not the physical body. They got that all wrong on earth. It's not this that's in the image of what people call the supreme being. No, because that is not the real source or prime creator. Does not call itself supreme anything. Only tyrant kings call themselves supreme. So it's kind of self-imprisoning for people on earth to worship some god they never meet and believe they can't meet and can't comprehend it. If they do that, that means they are sending out a signal to what they call divine spirit, which is really an omnipresent, meaning everywhere, in the void of space between planets, moons, and suns and galaxies. It's a living energy. It's not atomic or nuclear. Physical eyes can't see it, just appears black to them. But the atma, this, above the body, can see it. And that black looks like a brilliant white golden light, suspending and holding all the galaxies. Actually, they're floating in it. So we are made, this white core is connected to what people call divine spirit. Divine spirit is not, in its highest use, something you pray to. It's something you imagine to. And we're meant to imagine wonderful, uplifting new ways of doing things with the source behind all life as co-creators with it. The purpose and function of an individual being, Atma, which is what people from other worlds call soul, that people on earth call soul, grow up on a world without a subconscious mind, on many hundreds of millions of world systems that don't have tyrant governments, that don't lie to people, they don't have classified systems. People are evolved enough without subconscious minds to run themselves. So the wisest people, the most advanced people, will run governments on the behalf of the people. Money's illegal. Any of the higher cultures got rid of it a long time ago. It's unnecessary. So people grow up being motivated to create new wondrous things if they become scientists or spaceship admirals or, parallel dimension physics or quantum physicists on those worlds. So they want to study interdimensional doorways between dimensions and have new devices on their craft that can travel and go faster. Then they grow up wanting to do this, not for their own selfish self, but for all the good of the people on that planet and all the good of all the planets that are in alliance with them, which is hundreds and hundreds of millions. So they grow up quite differently than people on Earth. Those worlds and people on Earth are being kept still in the dark that extraterrestrials exist. Governments classified this officially worldwide at the end of World War II because they were scared. Eisenhower was scared. Truman was scared. the premier in Russia, in China. These were all people were scared of the fact that beings from other worlds were coming here, primarily, more openly, because we were blowing up nuclear devices with terrible radiation side effects in our own atmosphere just to test them. And beings from other worlds thought that was quite an act of insanity. And they came here to say, what the heck are we doing? You know, they have come here and come here often, all the way back 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. People have been coming here from the stars. All of us on Earth aren't from here originally. All these types of human bodies did not originate on this planet. They didn't evolve from fish from the sea. That's all theory. That's Darwin's deal. There is evolution of genetic form that evolves over time, but that has nothing to do with the being running that genetic form. So there is the evolution of DNA, this kind of thing. This kind of body, your body, these bodies on Earth, were developed by very advanced beings out among the stars several billions of years ago and brought up to this form so that when a being's running a body that isn't restricted like Earth bodies are, meaning the genomes, what they used to call junk DNA, which they know now isn't junk, it's just not turned on. So certain genomes on the DNA of a human being are shut off. So they have hard time accessing photographic memory, using the proper communication of telepathy between beings, which people call intuition on Earth. You know, and higher faculties, ability to get out of their body, the ability to talk with people on other worlds across time and space, from consciousness to consciousness, is the natural ability of each of us. But not if you don't believe it, not if you've been made to fear it. People should be able to be out of their bodies as a pure being that isn't even nuclear or atomic in nature. It is energy, but of a much higher form. And they should be able to get around while they're running a lifetime on a body and meet with beings from other worlds who can also do this. Beings that are more advanced out there can get across the stars in spaceships, but they can also get across the stars instantly as beings out of their bodies, because time and space does not limit the way the Atma, what people on Earth call soul, travels. It doesn't move through matter and space and time. It rides the hue, the first half of the word human, the toroidal energy, the 0 point energy, that is the energy of the universe between all things that float in it. Hint, hint, hint. I'm talking to scientists now, quantum physicists, you know, those guys that aren't classified, because the quantum physicists that are and those that are more advanced know what I'm talking about. They don't understand its depth or breadth or width, but they know that that energy isn't nuclear in nature because extraterrestrials have taught them certain things about it. And you have to work with that non-nuclear energy if you want to get across the stars much faster than what you call the thought of limits of the speed of light. That's only 286,000 miles a second. That's only what physical eyes can detect it moving at. It isn't a limit of light at all. Someday people on Earth will know this outside the classified community when full disclosure takes place on this planet. And that is underway, and that's not something people in power on this Earth can keep from happening anymore. And they know it now. Things are happening out there in the universe, coming this way, and they're going to have to line up with it. They can't suppress the planet and all its people and go out and militarize space and expect to go out there and plant flags of countries on other worlds and mine their resources. And I'll tell you why they're never going to be allowed to do that. Because space is already occupied by more advanced races than us. There isn't going to be any future Star Trek-y space like that. And they don't use warp core, radioactive cores driving warp ships around, polluting the universe with radioactive particles out their tailpipes. How absurd can people be to think that way? That more advanced races would do that to their own environment, even in space. They don't. They know better. Long ago, I would have to say that on worlds out there that developed nuclear technology, probably they also developed the better ones developed the technology to neutralize imbalanced isotopes that are man-made on Earth. so that they have the science to neutralize radiation and take a bomb back to a non-radioactive form. Nobody ever put any money into that on Earth. They just wanted to blow things up and keep making better bombs. They didn't put any money into the science they should have put in it in the first place to protect themselves. So that science is known out there. How to make a radioactive, dangerous plutonium or uranium non-radioactive or non-threatening. That's easy stuff. Now people on Earth are being forced to solve, and not in the old technology of injecting people with a so-called turned off or not active polio or flu virus or something, give you a shot. Everybody I know that takes a flu shot gets the flu. What the hell's the point of that? They're giving people the flu to get their immune system to protect them from it. It's pointless. The kind of thing that's being explored for COVID-19, which is really just a mutated SARS virus anyway, is they're approaching it in a way that would cause our own immune systems to beat this down and get rid of it without injecting us with non-active COVID virus, because that will have serious side effects in human bodies, like they've injected in children around the world, making them mandatory. All these inoculations cause dangerous harm to kids. There are side effects to that kind of thing. You know, I think they did that with polio and fixed that, maybe leprosy, but there are other things that it causes serious side effects if you use an inactive virus and inject it into people as an approach to cure something. It doesn't work, and sometimes people have been injected with live viruses by accident. So it's a very young planet in the sense in this culture today. To understand how to work with the genomes on the DNA, that's advancing very fast, you know, because they know that the genomes are switches, and they're actually activated by precise sound frequencies. If something's shut off and you know how to turn that genome on, it's going to turn it on. Ooh, you're going to die at 83. No, I'm not. Turn on that genome. You're going to live 1,000 years, because you're telling the telomeres at the end of the DNA chain not to shrink when they duplicate. And then you don't age. That's all there is to that. They don't know how to do that yet on Earth. At least, certainly they don't know it in the non-classified arena. I'm not sure they even know that in the classified arena. It is not the most advanced science out among the stars, amongst races out there. So if we had any humility at all on this planet, if people weren't so sickly ridiculous, running around selfishly, fighting each other over religious beliefs, they don't even have the experience to fight over about it. It's just faith, belief. And politicians are busy fighting for their own little niche in the world, their own greed, their own selfishness mostly. And countries can't even get along. And then they go out in military space, and we're going to compete with Russia and China, and we're going to go out there and bring our weapons up there and, you know, get it all militarized. No, it's never going to work. Space is already occupied, guys. They know that, though, in the classified arena. They just haven't told the people this yet. They are looking for a way to do it that would be safe for them and all people and not be destructive. People riding the streets, breaking and looting and using the death of one person as an excuse to be criminals and rob and loot and pillage. That's a pretty low state of consciousness when people do that. So how are people like that going to be disclosed about wondrous life and other beings that live on other planets and be told the truth when they act like that? It's tough. It's a dilemma. People on Earth have to be given I would say, raised in an energy of a higher vibratory energy field than is available in the atmosphere right now for most people, in order for them to come out of that smoke screen and anger and hatred and, you know, and put their head above the fog and take a breath and look around and meet with beings that can help us get out of this place, this trap this planet's put itself in, its people. The way it's run, it has no future. There isn't any way, the way this planet's run now, that it will survive the way energy's used, pollution, the threat of different militaries at each other. It's not headed the way it is towards an enlightened world that can take its place among the stars with those that are, because those that are not going to allow us to join them the way we are. Period. End of story. Never going to happen. So this solar system is quarantined out there. And we're going to need to grow up to take our place. And that means meeting with people and beings from other worlds, many of them human and others, and being able to be humble enough, not like a doormat under a tyrant, but respectful of them enough to accept their science and help in curing disease and all that, because they've already offered it several times to the people on this planet, and it was turned down by governments here. That's classified because they were afraid, frightened. They didn't know if we took anything from these people that they might turn out to be tyrants and take over the world. Well, it's pretty silly, considering that the technology that both benevolent and malevolent beings showed to leaders here, it could whip our ass in a day, in 10 minutes. But that's never happened, has it? No one's come down here from the stars, big cockroach beings, and blown up everything. The best advanced tyrant races don't work that way. They sneak in with elite, arrogant people and get control of them to control the people to get resources. They don't blow planets up and get people so that there's no industry and no way to pull resources out of the planet. They use humans as slaves. That's Earth right now. To change it, it's not going to be able to be changed by the leaders, classified or otherwise, on this planet, because they're too subconsciously driven by fear themselves. And when you're driven by fear, they simply make mistakes in judgment, because fear is negative and it misdirects thinking, wisdom, intelligence, it throws it off. So to get that changed, they're going to have to accept the assistance, kind assistance of beings who want us, and have always wanted us, to at least accept the science to neutralize radioactive materials. There is no good can come from them ever. They're just destructive, period. Oh, let's make nuclear power plants. They're radioactive. If they get out of the lead container, everybody's dead. But we're just making it to make steam to drive turbines. Oh, brother, are you kidding? Let's blow up some bombs in our atmosphere, and hydrogen bombs, and then some radiation could go in the jet stream and drop on everybody. And we'll get things like COVID-19. Did people really think there wouldn't be repercussions for blowing up radioactive devices in our own atmosphere down the road? Duh. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. It's a primary law of physics in the physical universe. If they do things like that, there's going to be negative repercussions coming away from it. And then we have to deal with it. We either deal with it and cure it and survive it, or we succumb and end on this planet from it. It seems to me that other worlds that reached a critical juncture, like we're at on Earth now, to self-destroy ourselves, through the misuse of science, the greed, the incorrect way of looking at each other, a very unconscious, self-centered, and selfish, childish attitude. If we did that on our own, we would destroy ourselves for sure. If in other worlds, let's see, in other worlds where they've reached this point, those worlds that survived long ago generally had some race from the stars approach them and help them over that rough spot. So they had help from outside their world, or they would have died. Earth is no different in this regard. There are more advanced human and other races out there that are kind, that know how to do this, how to transform the world, get rid of pollution, neutralize toxins in water and air and radiation, all that. It's old, 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 old science to them, not new. Anti-gravity spaceships, very old science for them. So why wouldn't they share it? Well, they would if we could be trusted with a tiny fraction of what they know. They're not going to give us that kind of thing so we can go take space and make militarize out and fight with battle over who gets what planetoid and what asteroid from China or Russia, the United States. It's nonsense. There's no way to take that thinking out among the stars, amongst those races, because they are not going to tolerate it. There are people on Earth classified that know full well they're not going to tolerate it. They've been told they're not going to. So, if they had really wanted to take us over, don't you think they'd done it by now? Tyrants tried to, and they've been moved out. But they left a negative effect on people here. So that's something that has to be fixed, right, Perry? That's something that obviously people are going to have that fixed somehow by some miracle. I don't see people being able to do it on their own the way they are on Earth, because most people, and this includes the leaders of this world, do not remember who they are. That isn't one of these. They don't remember where they go at night when they put the body to sleep, most of them. They don't travel around the universe and come back to this body in the morning with much memory of what they were doing, do they? They don't remember what their purpose for existing is that is not one of these. How are they going to make better decisions that limited? No, they're not. They're going to make wrong decisions, self-destructive decisions. It is true that Earth has been kept from having nuclear war a number of times by beings from other worlds. That scares the heck out of people here because they couldn't control whether their launch computers were shut down or not. And yet those beings who shut down those launch computers didn't interfere in our governments. They didn't come in and take us over. They said, look, you can do whatever you want, but no. That's going to affect negatively life elsewhere you don't even know about. So no, you can't do that. You don't have the right to do it. So I don't know where Starlight went. I hear you. Come on in. Come on in. Don't just sit out there and whine. Come on in. Come on in. I thought you were already out of your body. Oh, that's right. We haven't started that yet, have we? I guess he's telling us we're getting pretty near now. Okay. There we go. Are you telling us we got to get out now and go? Okay.
He's been waiting for a while now.
Yeah, he doesn't fool around with it. He just goes, he's waiting for us to catch up. And he's a cat. Doesn't speak highly for us, but we're doing the best we can.
Scott, can we mention it? I'd like to ask for those who watch our show, please thumb up, share our show and subscribe for others to be able to watch our shows too when they share.
Well, when they see one of the short videos I've created that are at the front page of paralleltime.com, the website, you could tell them to go to paralleltime.com, the website, in Thai, right now in Thai. And they'll see the short videos there with Jessica narrating them. And when they want to see more of that, they can go to the YouTube channel, when they go see the video and click like, because when they click like, you can tell them that, then more videos of that kind will be sent to them and they'll find more of this work.
สำหรับคนไทยที่ดูรายการนี้อยู่นะคะดูรายการของแพรรี่แล้วฝากกดไลค์ด้วยนะคะแล้วก็กดแชร์ด้วยนะคะเพราะว่ามันจะมีรายการของแพรรี่เนี่ยขึ้นมาให้ได้เลือกดูกันอีกต่อไปนะคะแล้วก็ตามไปที่เว็บไซต์ลิงก์ของ Scott ได้เลยนะคะ paralleltime.com แล้วก็จะมีลิงก์อื่นๆใต้วิดีโอนี้ด้วยเช่นกันค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you.
Okay, Scott, hold on. I have a question from Marshall. He has a question for you asking about the riots.
The riots?
Okay, can I? Riots, RIOTS. About the riots in America, if it's a part of the plan of...
No, it is not part of the new Ray and the Hue. It's not part of extraterrestrials' plan. It's the way human beings react. And they're reacting using what happens to an individual as an excuse to be thugs, criminals, and crooks. Break in, steal. That's just using it someone else's sad situation to justify behaving like lunatics. And it's not right, and it isn't correct, and there's just anger. They're just angry that their life is not better. And we're talking about every race on Earth. Every race on Earth are very successful, both as politicians, in the film business, music business, and yet most people are not. So there really isn't anybody holding anybody down here. And that's true from the example that fellows of different races have set for their fellows, that they're very successful in whatever field they're in. So, you know, Obama was president. He's African American. How was he stopped from being that? He wasn't. So I say this because my work is not, and I'm not going to get into discussing riots and answering all of these people's fears. If people fight over toilet paper because they created an artificial shortage that wasn't there in the first place, because they were frightened and in fear and angry, then they create shortages. And if something hadn't been done on a government level to stop that lunatic behavior, then the other shortages wouldn't be created. Then food and trucks wouldn't work and everybody would have died. There was no shortage of any of these products until people panicked over this pandemic thing and created a shortage by hoarding things. Now, how are people reacting and acting like that going to be ready to hear full disclosure about the vast, kind, wondrous nature of beings from other worlds who can come here, land, and change this place? They're going to react with what? Fear, terror, the same kind of nonsense, cause rioting, break into stores and loot? How can they be expected to take their place in a higher world culture that tells the truth, where money's gotten rid of and governments become benevolent collectively? One government on this planet, not a tyrant government, a kind one. If we want to get there, we're going to have and request the assistance of beings from other worlds who know how to do this, who have been through this long ago. They know how to solve these problems. They've helped other worlds survive the kind of situation we're going through right now. But they're not tyrants. We have to ask. We're going to have to trust ourselves more than trust aliens, that we will do well with their help. If we operate and stay in fear, the world will end as you know it. That's not going to happen either, because if it ended through nuclear warfare, for instance, or even through global warming, kill off all life in the oceans and everything finally dies, okay. That would be negative towards other beings in other worlds, because on Earth, that some scientists know, but most of the non-classified don't, there are a number of interdimensional doorways that exist under the ocean, on the surface of the planet, or above mountain ranges, usually volcanic mountain ranges, that link to other places out in space, Saturn and other worlds, that advanced space traveler cultures know about. And if Earth becomes destructive or radioactive, it would affect life through those doorways in very negative ways, trillions of people. Those people are more advanced than people on Earth. They're not going to allow us to do that. People in governments already know they've been prevented from having nuclear war. They're just not telling people that yet. So that's where we are right now on planet Earth. Reptilians and greys that abducted people and all that kind of stuff aren't here anymore. You don't hear new abduction stories. We're all talking about stuff 25 years ago. Still, they don't realize it's been stopped. The world's still screwed up. I mean, you still got everybody lying to everybody. Still got classified this and that. People are going to fight over space, you know. Are you kidding? Really? As retarded a culture as Earth, as backward as they are, and rocket ships are going to go out there and tell other people on other planets what to go do with themselves? Not hardly. Ha! This world and its people are in for some real shockers, because disclosure will point out to them that we have a lot of catching up to do to play among the stars with other kind races. Simple fact of life. We do. So, on that note, life is just a bowl of cherries, but you got to look out for the pits. And I'm just telling people the truth about life beyond this world, because somebody has to be sharing this with the disclosure UFO community. Nobody's really doing it without mixing fear in with their presentations, without, we're going to battle with reptilians and we got to do this and that, and there's wars out there. No, There are not. There's no wars going on out in space. That's just people stuck on Earth, like World War II, thinking that it must be going on out there. They don't know. They're not out there to see it for themselves. If there was a war going on out here with tyrants and aliens, Earth would have been in the middle of it and everybody would be dead here, tortured, killed, or eaten. So they might as well stop doing that because it just helps promote more fear of the present and the future. It's not constructive. I only say that because so many people, meaning well, are putting out a lot of information about fearing aliens or fearing different tyrant races that once had more of an effect here than they have now. It's understandable, but it's not helpful because it doesn't help people drop fear. Fear is misdirecting energy. It's artificially created. It's not a normal human emotion at all. It's implanted. It's not healthy for people to dwell in fear of the present or the future. And the way the world is, I can understand why most people do, but it's not healthy. And it doesn't change a thing. It just perpetuates people being stuck in bodies on Earth, not going anywhere. Fear has a way of grounding the Atma to a physical form. It's negative, heavy, downward. So we want to drop attachment to such things like that. And this means using our imagination, what we see into the multiverse with, as a being, not the brain, not the eyes, not the body. The being running the brain and eyes and body is not the body. And that spherical being can see into the multiverse. It can see the white golden light that fills all the void of space and everything's floating in it, that is not nuclear, doesn't obey the laws of physics as it was known on Earth. It's not the same thing. More advanced races have to understand what this energy is. It's a living, conscious energy. It's not just some innate, inanimate bunch of power out there. And we have to work with it if we want to get around the stars, go be into interdimensional doorways, because those doorways are guarded. Make no mistake about it. Interdimensional doorways are, I don't want to say policed, but they're guarded. Some tyrants have been able to go through them in the physical universe, but to a limited degree. And the doorways between different major planes, like the physical universe, the 144 parallel dimensions, and the same in the astral, all these other heavens, are guarded. So you're not going to take this earth nonsense into the higher worlds anyway. You can't take anything negative there. When I say higher worlds to people who may be listening, I'm talking about the multiverse, the different dimensional levels of creation. And not just the physical galaxies in space people see out there through a time-lapse photography of gathering light from the Hubble, or the different electronic capabilities it has to see infrared, gamma, ultraviolet, X-ray, all these other higher frequencies of one energy, really. That's why when you look at these images of galaxies, look so colorful and blues and greens, you're looking at light that is on a frequency beyond the range of human eyeballs to see it. It's there, but the Atma that isn't the brain or the eyes can see it. What we really are, spherical. We're like a planet, a moon or a sun. We are spherical in nature and designed to be just like the source, prime creator itself. And it looks like that at the very core of this ocean of sound and light that's many dimensions above what people know of as the void. And we have the same energy structure in the same way as it. It's not a being on a throne. It's not a body. It is a nexus, a central kind of a manifestation of all Atmas that make up what we call prime creator, the source. And you can actually speak with it, but it's not a being. It's, how do I describe it? It's more than the sum of its parts. And we're all connected to it and come from it originally. Before we started playing around and incarnating in bodies and getting forgetful and lost and down worlds and couldn't remember anything. That kind of, that kind of forgetfulness goes back way before reptilian implants or the misuse of science or other tyrants out there or little gray abductions or any of that stuff. It goes way back before that, the beginning to have amnesia, forgetfulness of beings, living in and around bodies and not knowing who they are anymore. It's a long history of lives and incarnations that brought us to be people on earth with no memory. Ask anyone, what do you exist for? I exist to have babies or to, go to work and be successful. Well, that's not why you exist. That's a function of a body while it's alive. You're running. You ask them, well, why do we exist as beings? They can't tell you. But they'll tell you something from faith. It's to worship, someone. If you ask them what they were before they were born here, or what they did, some can tell you, most cannot. They don't remember anything. And then they're expected to collectively make things go right on earth. And they don't have the wisdom of all the lives they've ever lived, or the grand history that they came from originally when they departed from the upper worlds down here. How can they be expected to make right decisions that way? Well, they might think they are, but look at the condition of the world. They aren't. They're making many wrong decisions and having to spend money to try to fix all their mistakes over and over again. Okay, so we get into this program about the first half of the word human. The hue is a way of hearing and seeing the omnipresent energy that is in the void of space. I'll say that again. For a being running a body, it is a way when they begin to remember, a fail-safe built in creation from the very beginning, before the worlds of time and space were even constructed. It is a way to telepathically communicate with what people call Holy Spirit, not to pray to it, because when they pray, they're just imagining something. It really only listens to what they imagine, good or bad. And it will provide them with either one or both, because that living force is a co-creator with us. We're meant to co-create properly with it, meaning that we deliberately and of consciousness create new things that are of wonderful benefit and uplifting for the rest of life. Not just life on planet Earth. That's unconscious. Life out there where most of God is. Out there in the multiverse, trillions of galaxies on numerous multidimensional levels with one energy on behind it, supporting it. And we're meant to connect into that. The hue did not get originated on this planet. The human language, English, Thai, or anything else didn't get created on this planet. That's the way people speak in other worlds for millions and millions of years. It's been imported here. People were brought here as slaves and left here to die when someone's done using them. In different epic periods of history on this world, people don't even know such a history exists. Earth has had this problem of polar flips for every 100,000 years, destroying all life. And if you could get off in a spaceship, you could. If you're not, maybe a couple thousand people are left alive on top of mountain ranges that become islands. And they are primitive and they have to start all over procreating with certain of their genomes deliberately shut down to make them inferior to the race that captured them. There's a history about tyrant cultures, both good and bad, that goes back in the history of this planet, 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. That history is known out there. People on Earth haven't got a clue it ever existed. If they did, you can imagine what children would grow up in life on this planet. If they really knew how big life of what they call the supreme being or the source really is, what's really out there. For us to have a advanced world, spiritually, materially, technologically, then we have to get beyond belief and faith, which should lead into direct experience. And without direct experience, you never know. Doesn't matter how strong a person's faith is, they're still in doubt because they don't have direct awakening, enlightenment. They don't know what's true other than what's been taught to them from outside by governments, religious leaders, whatever, who are just as much in fear as the people they teach, really. This world's going to require, to survive, I don't want to say an intervention, but it's going to have to take the direct association and disclosure of working with advanced kind beings from out there. Some of the people on Earth who are living here now with no memory were once them. And they know that. And some of them want their relatives back. Some of them want to find out, especially now, what people on Earth would be like if they were conscious again and not unconscious. If they didn't have a subconscious mind misdirecting them with fear and anger and all these negative emotions. What people need to know and will know on this earth one day is that all negative emotions and imagination are not natural aspects of the soul or Atma at all. They aren't part of it. Nothing of a negative nature was ever created long ago to be permanent. So one day it must end. For it to happen on this world, two things had to happen. One, the past prophesied destructive Armageddon thing about this world told to people thousands of years ago had to be permanently and forever altered to an unexpected, uplifting future, or we would all be dead from nuclear war already. It's 2020, going on 2021. Where's the big nuclear war? Where's the Armageddon? Well, Armageddon out of here. It's not here. As negative as the world is, and in fear most people are, there are other things at play out in the universe that have kept us from annihilating ourselves without directly taking over the planet. And it's the purpose of that patience since World War II ended is to get people to get over their fear, of themselves and each other first, so that they can accept the help of people who are not like China and Russia and the United States and competing over space nonsense. That's the most childish, silly stuff I've ever seen. But they're caught up in a system where they think they need to do that, and they don't. It means that this planet is going to have to go through quite some transformation. Unexpected. COVID-19, that's nothing. That'll be solved. We may even have a cure for the common cold and the flu, which we should have had decades ago anyway. Nobody put the money into it. Nobody cared. Make too much money off selling drugs or, giving somebody some drug that has side effects that suppresses symptoms but cures nothing. That's wrong. And everybody doing it knows it's wrong. They just can't help themselves. So, the humble position is to know that we're going to need help from more advanced fellow beings who are kind in order to get us over this hurdle of self-doubt and self-fear and hatred amongst our own cultures and governments, religions, and otherwise. Because the fact is, there is no religion on this planet, esoteric, philosophical, metaphysical, or any other kind, that's represented out among the stars. None of the religions on earth exist out there. None. They know better. They're beyond that kind of thing. They know what the source really is and how to work with it. People on earth do not yet remember how to do that. So they can get around the stars, go to other galaxies and play. Tyrant races have been quarantined as well, and they're being changed for the first time. So we won't have this problem in our galaxy anyway. For people to wake up enough to actually realize this, they're going to have some awakening direct experience, aren't they? Otherwise, they're not going to know for sure. So expect the unexpected. And I don't mean an Armageddon, because it's certainly coming our way. So when we do this, the first half of the word human, remember, this is not something that can be owned or patented or controlled or possessed by any organization, religious or political, on this planet. It did not get originated here. It cannot be owned. It cannot be held in your hands like a thing. It is the first sound behind all creation that was there before the worlds of time and space were made. No one can possess that. And if they try, they are in deep trouble. because there will be repercussions for that. And that's unavoidable. People can learn without being killed or destroyed. In the past, if a planet got so dark, things would happen and it'd just be wiped out. Nobody dies. The bodies are all killed, but the beings are floating above the planet going, oh, gee, what happened? I'm still conscious. I'm talking to myself. Oh, my body's dead. Oh, what happened? Well, they did it to themselves. That's the way things used to be done in this lower dimensions in this galaxy. But that too is changing out among the stars, the way they deal with this. So if we want what I call the failed experiment of evil to end, the good and bad, the fight, the never-ending yin and yang, the never-ending, I will beat the bad guys and then the bad guys will beat me in the future, and back and forth and back and forth, and it never ends, and get born and you're unconscious and go through it. If we want that to end, then we need to do our part as a culture on Earth to co-create, bringing it into existence on this planet. It's already out there. If they think they're going to go take their militarized space out there and mix it up with those races, they are sadly going to be disappointed, because they're going to run into roadblocks they can't even imagine trying to do that. And they're going to be prevented from going out there and polluting the rest of the universe. Ain't going to happen. Is not going to happen. You cannot take a rocket ship powered by take it, blast it off Earth, take it over to a space station, take it to the moon, and then leapfrog it over to Mars 2 years each way at the speeds they can go, because human beings will not survive the journey. You can't have a human being floating around in zero gravity that long. They atrophy. That's known on this Earth. Russia, the United States, both know this. China as well. That's not possible. So to get to Mars, even the next planet, or Venus, or any of these, you really can't practically do it that way. You've either got to have an anti-gravitic type propulsion system that has its own gravitational field in it, that it can get you there in minutes, or you have to have some kind of rocket system that has a rotating, creates graphs very awkward and clumsy and backward, to have some kind of gravitational field like they showed in the movie 2001, where these people would jog around this big ring, and they'd be running, and they were always upright because they had a gravitational field. And it took them years to get each way, but at least they could exercise and sit down and have gravity, so they live. You can't take a silver rocket ship or any kind of rocket ship that has no exercise facilities and no way to move around and take people in it 2 years each way to Mars. They would be dead. They wouldn't even be able to function when they got there to do any work. So something has to change to take us from where we are to visit other planets in our own system. There are certain classified people that have done it, but you're going to find out that they have been prevented from going out among the stars, really, very far. Because unless they want to work with tyrants who will lie to them and cheat them and stab them in the back every time, they're going to have to work with the bigger advanced race cultures out there that are kind. Not only to be able to use higher technology, but to have the protection and kindness of their friendship as well. Or we're not going to make it. And if the world goes up in smoke again and everybody dies, nobody dies. It just means they've got to get bodies somewhere else and go through it again until they get it right. They've already done that 1,000,000 times. I mean, how many times you got to do it before you decide, oh, maybe we're supposed to be a little more respectful of other life out there, of God, as it is beyond Earth, and stop being such arrogant, egotistical people and projecting our little turbulence out there and saying, we're going to come out there and give all that to you guys. No, you're not. No, you're not. Ever. So, I wanted to stress this only for constructive, uplifting reasons. My work doesn't involve any negative nature. It does not involve fear, the future, the present. It doesn't involve doubt and speculation and theory and debate. Nonsense. All nonsense, all negative. A waste of time and life, completely. We want to spend our time working with energies that are uplifting and conscious, genius. You want to use 100% of your brain you're supposed to have. It's 100% developed. How come people on Earth are told they only use 6 to 10% of it? Well, if certain genomes on the DNA are shut down, you go and as a being, hey, I'm supposed to be able to do this, and they don't work through that body. There are problems with genetics on people on Earth, and that needs to be corrected. We don't have the science to do this effectively and efficiently like beings from other worlds do. So if we want to grow up, then first people need to understand what they are that is not a physical body of any kind. To do that, they have to remember, don't they? They have to recall what they were made to forget. In no uncertain terms, how they were made to forget was not wonderful or kind, violent usually, and terrifying in lives out there before they were forced to come here with no memory. That's number one. If you really want to wake up, you got to get over this, I don't know that. Yeah, you do. You're just afraid to look at what happened, thinking it will happen again. It can't. The tyrants that were in place before that did this to people are no longer capable of doing that, and they're not on Earth. They're not even in our solar system. So that means people have the opportunity now to work into the hue. The first half of the word human is hidden in plain sight. It's simply a way for a human being with this kind of body to go, I'm connected to that energy in the void between space, that Holy Spirit, that omnipresent, non-nuclear, non-physical energy that's alive, supporting all these galaxies, life. And I can connect into it, communicate with it, and write it, and travel in it throughout the multiverse. Now, this is a fact. This is what people on Earth are capable of doing, and they have no belief or understanding whatsoever that this is true. They're more afraid of death because they think when this goes, they could go, and that they have a soul, but they don't understand it. So they think they're this, and then the soul is somewhere tucked away somewhere else that they'll pull out and look at every now and then. No. They are this running this. And they don't remember that. So everything's backwards and upside down on Earth. It has to be reversed. The thinking is all wrong. Do you have any questions, Perry, or anything else that I need to say before we go on a journey?
No, I'd like you to mention about your books, how to get them.
Well, okay. First of all, these books are published through my publishing company worldwide. That wasn't always that way. This originally was published through a New York publisher, and now I do it. Both the same size. Mm-hmm. This is original artwork, commissioned, hired. These are actual actors portraying these roles, real people that you see on the front cover of this book, The Emerald Doorway. This is the first book of 3 that are written. This is the first published one. There were over 30 illustrations of these characters and some scenes. These people are hovering on antigravitic discs. It's Captain Kalem Etta Ramu. He's a master teacher. Blue-skinned woman from another world named Melina, and there's Kalem's ship hovering stationary, and they're out on these discs above the ocean and land masses that have formed after the last polar flip on this planet. Destroyed everything. Lemuria, big continent called Atlantis was on the other side of the planet, centered over the equator. It was nearly independent. And I'm not talking about the Atlantis Edgar Cayce talked about that was destroyed 35,000 years ago. This was 100,000 years ago. And that's an interdimensional doorway between the first reality above the void. And this is the ancient one coming down because this master teacher is introducing to these people and this sentient, non-human being that's hovering there with his tail glowing. He's a Dren. He's a silica-based creature, and they have the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air as an organic creature. They're not from Earth. And he's showing them this because at this time, they don't realize that something's hovering above these bodies that looks just like it on a smaller scale. So this is what the source behind all life actually looks like, surrounded by what looks like a huge galaxy of light and sound. And each single luminous sphere that looks like a star that makes up that reality is an individual atma, like the kind that run these bodies. So we are co-creators with this source. Same energy, same structure, smaller scale, like a drop of pure water in a mighty ocean of it. And he's introducing them to this because all these people died and they're sad. And he's saying, no, they're still alive. And this thing takes all these atmas, they've lost their bodies, it takes it with them up through here into this upper world above the void for a short time. And then they're sent back in the lower world. So this is the ancient one in this book. We call it the source or prime creator. It's not an individual being like a tyrant with a beard or on a throne up there. And beings who run these bodies, us, know and can comprehend this directly and understand it. Though you're not taught that on earth. It is not true what's taught on earth. You can know it. Not as a body or a brain, but as the Atma soul hovering above it, running it. So a lot needs to be remembered. On these books, he's a bad guy, really. He's turned to evil. It's a real guy portraying the role. So that's the Emerald Doorway. And it's more about what happened with extraterrestrial involvement in our solar system, out in the galaxy, back in the ancient times before the poles last flipped, affecting Earth. Okay, and the Oceanians, you'll learn about them. You have to read it. You'll have to go on the journey to understand how these beings end up in present time on Earth in this first story, okay? First thing. So that's that.
God, and in our show, when you take us on journey, we still go with Master Ramo, the picture on your cover, and Eta too, for people to know.
Sure, they're just people from other worlds, no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the Sayre's agenda. Now, what you're seeing on this cover, this original artwork, it's copywritten, of course. This is a mile-long cylindrical ship with an anti-gravitic field around it. These are 30 foot in diameter, the most modern, 3 semispheric pods on the bottom people have seen on Earth. Maybe a little more older style of ship back then. And this is the ice rings made of water that are frozen that make up the rings of the planet Saturn. That's Saturn. They are coming to land inside this ship. There are no open launch bays in this craft. This is not a Venusian craft. This isn't the solar system planet from here. This is from the galactic core of this galaxy. And they change their molecular time by raising the vibration of the molecules that make up their craft. The electromagnetic field can do this. And they move it in a higher parallel dimension right through the hull, lower the vibration, and land in a hangar bay. Okay, this has got a bridge control room here, but there's an identical one on the other end. They're made to go through interdimensional doorways either way. This is Mark Sandfield. He is an actual guy acting out this, and there's some bad guys in black suits, camouflage, trying to shoot him with advanced extraterrestrial weapons. He's on a solo camping trip. You can just see his tent back here. And they want to kill him. This beam hits a tree, melts away the atoms of it, and the stump falls towards these guys. And he's beamed to safety aboard this craft in the nick of time. He's on a solo camping trip. So he starts his journey aboard a human-run extraterrestrial, 30-foot wide galactic scout ship. And he begins to learn that he was somebody else before he was put on Earth against his will and stuffed in a body with no memory. The Sayre's agenda is about what's taking place out in the universe amongst advanced races that's different than's ever happened before. The consciousness change they went through, like Ambassador Turellian of the Sayres, which is introduced to the Galactic Council near the center of the galaxy in this journey. And things change. So this is about what's changing out there so that Earth can actually go through this transformation without an Armageddon for the first time, because there's been Armageddons on this planet. A number of them going back 65 million years. So we don't want to do that again. It's a waste of time and energy, isn't it? And in the back of the book, there's a special techniques section, quite extensive actually. Let's see where that is. I'll show you what the page looks like so you have an understanding. Perry can help some of you in Thai. I think she's transcribed some of the techniques that are most effective for her. So you can work with the hue in Thai if you need one. And back here, it just says The Sayres Agenda, Special Techniques to Safely Explore and Awaken Deliberately Hidden Truth by R. Scott Monreal. Preliminary techniques, and then it goes through a different technique for the prologue and one different technique for each of the 29 chapters that you can work with. So that's that book, and they're available. When you see some of these videos that are being promoted now, these short minute and 20-second long with this wonderful Jessica narrating them, you're going to see about my work, very heart moving on YouTube and out in the world. If you go to paralleltime.com, which is Thai, she can tell it to you in Thai, then you're going to see when you scroll down the main home page a big video player, and then you're going to see these little videos. And the ones that are 3 or 4 on that page you're going to see, you click on them, you can play them. And if you click on YouTube, the symbol YouTube, it'll go to the big screen on YouTube and you can watch them. And then if you like those videos, then the relationship YouTube will have with you is that it'll send you more or direct you to more of these videos so you can see much more of this work. And those videos are all tied to the 4 websites I have. The primary one is paralleltime.com. So I don't have any shopping carts at my websites. It's all linked to a book page that has all the links you need for Amazon or iBooks or Barnes & Noble in the United States bookstores. If you want to get a paperback or ebook, you can. The advantage of this is when you want to get a book in Thailand, you can go to order it from a bookstore because there's no Amazon there, as I understand it. If you want to go to France or England or somewhere else and get a book, they have print-on-demand facilities, Amazon, and another company called Ingram Spark that distributes books to bookstores, and they have print-on-demand facilities so they can print a book locally and ship it to a store, or print a book locally and send it to your home, so that the cost of shipping a book overseas is just outrageous. You couldn't do it. So the links are there, and when you click on them, they go right to the proper sales page at these online retailers. So you don't have to hunt for it, you don't have to look for it, you can get the book, have it done, and sent to you locally. That's necessary, otherwise people around the world could never get this work. Mm-hmm. I can't stockpile the work in warehouses and then ship it overseas and all that, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay. For Thai people, because I have my Thai channel, right? So I told them how to do, and I direct them to your website and how to get your books too, so they know.
Okay, but good.
For other countries can do as follow what you say. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's an Amazon in Thailand yet. It'd be nice if they had one because you could get the books right quickly locally. But we do the.
It's great. It's good here.
At some point, we can translate these books into other languages, but it's extremely expensive. It takes 3 top editors, language translators, at a great deal of funds. Takes months of their work generally to transcribe a book, say, from English into Thai properly, so that all the concepts and all the images that are meant for people to get that triggers their awakening are the same in that language. And that's not easy. That takes real careful work. So we need to get the books up to a New York Times bestseller category before funds are available to do that kind of thing. It's a long process. This book right here, for instance, if I wanted this in Thai, this has to be in Thai. The cover has to be made new. All this language on the back has to be in Thai. Everything in here has to be in Thai. And the book has to be published with a new, what you call a ISBN number on the back, right? Mm-hmm. Which identifies it amongst all the books in the world. And it has to be published as a new book, even though it's the same book. Each book in another language has to be published all through the whole copyright process, publishing, designing the cover. It has to be done as if it was a brand new book. Mm-hmm. And people don't understand that. So it's quite a complex process.
Funds are welcome if people want to co-create this with you. Contact you directly if they want to fund to translate books in other languages.
I know there's several people, particularly one on this earth that's very wealthy, that has a very different consciousness right now and is wanting to utilize those funds in a way to help change this planet. They could certainly donate or fund what I'm doing, including feature film work. They would have a consciousness. When they get out of their body at night, they're meeting with people I know. And they're going to be inspired to contact me to help, because those energies they have, those huge amount of funds are just not being used properly in a way they could to change the planet. So someone out there, or several people, as has already happened, or will contact me at some point when they're ready. I already know that. So someone out there may hear this. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will on this video or another one. And they'll reach out to me through the contact page at paralleltime.com, and I'll get that email.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you want, if we got some time, why not? I could share a screen and actually play one of these short videos for people to see how we do. Now, I don't know if Thai people would appreciate it as much because they'll hear the beautiful music, but they won't understand the language. But for other people listening to your show, they will. So I'll do that with your permission.
Yes, sure.
Let's try and make this more effective and directly show people how we go about this so they don't have to question it. I'll go right to paralleltime.com, the main website that I have. As you can see, it's quite beautiful. See a beautiful woman standing on a rock on an alien world. There's 2 moons. Very advanced. It isn't Earth, but look how advanced they are. And that's artwork by Arthur Blue. This guy, Arthur Rosa, because his artwork is so phenomenal. He really does see visions of other worlds. I got permission to use his artwork here. That's why his link's here, because I'm so impressed with it. There's a big video explains right here that plays, but down here is the videos I'm talking about. Here's the latest radio show I was on. You can play it right here and listen to a 2-hour show. And here's one presentation I did in Finland. Here's one of the Jessica narrated videos. I'll play for you now.
Do you sometimes feel disconnected from the universe? Does it feel like that there is a lot more to reality than meets the eye?
It's a bit too loud, Scott. And can you enlarge full screen, please?
And Scott Lemon has taken it upon himself to...
It's what?
It's a bit too loud.
Too loud?
Yeah, for the YouTube video, this one.
Okay, so I'll lower the volume. Tell me when it's right.
Assist fellow human beings subconsciously suppressed higher faculties that reveal a vast hidden multi-dimensional reality. Known as the direct experience-based hidden truth revealing researcher and author.
We'll go to YouTube.
And author, R. Scott Lemriel composed, produced, performed, and released a music CD titled Stranger on a Lost Island for the uplifting benefit of fellow human beings on Earth. Combine the serene tracks of the CD with his books, The Sayres Agenda and The Emerald Doorway, Book 1 of the Parallel Time Trilogy, and you will be amazed at how you begin to see that everything has always been so simply hidden in plain sight. As you explore more deeply, you will begin to realize the subconsciously suppressed ancient history of planet Earth, the Grand Galactic Alliance, and true free will. Begin your journey into uncovering the truth today.
That's a sample of what they can find for free at these websites.
Yeah, it's best to go directly to your website so you can hear it clearly. Yeah.
Right, because I've got headphones on. I have to play it through the speakers, and I don't know how well you could hear it. You said it was too loud before?
Yeah, I mean, the video was too loud.
Okay, so if we play another one.
Everything we know about aliens,
you're going to
outer
see
space, and the vast multi-dimensional universe we have mostly learned from movies or TV shows. But what if we could learn from someone who has a lifetime of direct knowing experience with these things? Meet R. Scott Lemriel, known as the direct experience-based hidden truth revealing researcher and author. Inspired by the passion of sharing his amazing journey with his fellow human beings, Scott authored 2 published books for the experiential benefit of fellow humans, The Sayres Agenda and The Emerald Doorway, Book 1 of the Parallel Time Trilogy. His books shed light on many awareness-expanding events that occurred throughout this lifetime and still continue to do so to this day. Discover the most ancient, deliberately hidden Galactic Alliance history and the far more ancient hidden history of planet Earth and our solar system. Go on the journey to experience the vast nature of deliberately hidden truth today. Visit www.totalspectrumproductions.com.
So when you go and see these things there at the site, I'll stop sharing the screen. These are free anyway. Now, here's what I want to show people watching. See this top? It says books. If you obtain the books, goes to a page, and it looks like this. Has both books and all the links you need for all the retailers to get them in any form. And you can look at the back of the book, and when you hover over it, it magnifies the chapter titles.
Wow.
And it magnifies this, Mark Sandfield being shot at in his tent in the high Sierra Mountains of California, being taken aboard a ship and saved. You go down here, you can see it magnified when you hover over it. And you can see the back of this book and see the chapter titles as well, and this magnified. So that's, and then if you click on something like, let's go buy a book, it goes right to the correct and only correct sales page at Amazon. So you don't want to go to any of these secondary booksellers that Amazon allows you to. You might get an older version of the book. It won't have the techniques in it. The first, second, and third publications of this book didn't. The fourth and fifth one, the final one, the fifth one, all typos removed with this original cover is where I wanted to get these years ago, and it took a long time to get them there. So you want to get this Kindle or this paperback just by going here. And either an ebook. And so that's what happens at the website. There's no shopping cart at all at my websites because I don't take people's credit cards or banking information or that. Okay, so that's how that works. Thank you. So let's go on a little journey. I would ask people who are listening, and that means all of you out there that have the courage to do it, trust yourself first and foremost. Not me, not extraterrestrials, not governments, not religious leaders. You are an eternal being. And how much you remember about that, really remember it, is between another matter. Between what you know now and what you will know soon enough from this work. All that you were made to forget can be recovered, recalled, remembered under the right conditions. Fear and negative emotions and imaginations will block that process. You cannot dwell on them or encourage them or be living in the middle of such things like fear of the present and the future and accomplish very much at all. In these journeys, I begin them by asking you to take a deep breath or two, sit down in a chair, lay in a bed, sit in a car, lay on its grass outside, whatever you're doing, wherever you are in the world. And trust the core nature of your own being in eternity before you trust anybody else. Before you trust anything or anyone, trust the nature of what it is that is alive in you, that isn't a physical body. All of you know how to do it. You just have to start in the right direction. When you breathe out, all you're doing here is breathing out fear. Fear is behind all negative emotions: hatred, anger, jealousy, bigotry, revenge, frustration, doubt, speculation, theory, debate. These are all kind of things could be this way, but we're not sure. That's not natural for the Atma, or what people on earth call soul. It's not natural or normal for anyone to be unaware of why they're alive or what their purpose for existing is. That's been suppressed in you from an experience somewhere you had before this life out there. And you don't want to remember it because you've been told in those programs that the same terrible fate will meet you if you try to remember who you are. This is not true at all, because the tyrants that were doing that have been stopped from doing that, and they're not in our solar system anymore. When I send out the hue, the first half of the word human hidden in plain sight, it actually opens a doorway through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. The pineal gland is surrounded by rods and cones like that which you have in your eyes, and the inside surface has a liquid in it. And those are tuning forks to different realities. It's a way that you, the being running the body, can bring information back, dreams at night, and download them into the brain body that doesn't have any of these experiences. It cannot go to another planet outside of a spaceship. It cannot go to higher dimensions. The being you are running it can. So it will open a door there and connect us telepathically, not psychically, Telepathy is not psychic. It is not a psychic faculty. It is a direct communication link between each Atma and the source behind all life. Remember this. Telepathy, pure telepathy, is a true form of communication between all beings. In the Atma form, the spherical form, you can understand any language. When you're out of your body with other beings, everybody hears everybody as if they're talking in their own language. When I send out the hue on a number of higher tones, it's simply helping you put your body to the trance state called sleep. You put it in like a master every night, all over the world. It's a very complex function. The Atma running the body is what causes the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, and run the body in automatic while you're gone. This is the mystery of what people call sleep. It means nobody's in that body. It's snoring, it's unconscious till you rap on somebody's forehead and shock them back in the body, and they get up and go, huh, what? The body's running safely in the sleep state on automatic. There is an energy connection between the white core of our being as an Atma, spherical, center of it, and the pineal gland that cannot be broken. It's not a silver cord or a golden cord. It's not a cord between the astral body, the next dimension up in the physical. It is a direct link between the Atma and that body. It can't be broken by a nuclear explosion either. The body could be gone. But if you're not going to be destroyed in this way, then that connection, when you're out of it at night, cannot be broken. It's not something that can be severed or snipped or anything like this. Nothing of any negative nature can approach the type of energy that's utilized in the hue between Atmas and the bodies they run, unless they invite it in, deliberately invite some negative thing in to mess with them by imagining and fearing everything. So we don't want to put our imagination or add energy to what's already negative out on Earth. That's rule number 1. Breathe out. All I'm insisting you to do is to put your body asleep like you do at night, except because of my voice and telepathic link I have with you, which is pure. It's not an invasion of your privacy. I'm not reading your thoughts. I'm doing anything like this. It's simply a way of helping you remember who you are. As long as those negative subconscious things are turned off through this process, which they are, you can get above your body, above Earth, outside the negative atmosphere of the planet. And this is where we begin our journeys, always. Because out in space, in what people call the void of space, that looks black in Hubble telescope pictures, and it really isn't. It's a white golden light filling all space, 0 point, toroidal, energy of the universe, isn't nuclear in nature. It's behind that, supporting it. It's energy, but not atomic. So the void of space, which is what most of creation is, with little things floating in it like galaxies, is a living, conscious energy that runs through all the multidimensional creation. And we, believe it or not, are capable of linking into it, communicating into it, traveling in it, and seeing things anywhere to know things with certainty, without doubt and fear and speculation and theory and debate. There's no argument here. Now begin these tones, because it will help you not only put your physical body to sleep, but bodies you're running as a single spherical Atma on different dimensions. People have heard of the astral plane. It's the next major division up from the physical. All matter there in 144 parallel dimensions are moved by emotion. All matter in the physical 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe, not just one, are moved through effort, powering a ship, pushing this button, that kind of thing. And there are body form people are running in the causal, the one above the astral, the mental, where all thought and brilliance comes from, that runs through your brain to make you intelligent. You can't be very intelligent growing up learning the simple junk that you learn growing up from school. As the body matures, more of who you are can bring more of what you're capable of doing to that body. So we call it adulthood. But the real brilliance is not in the brain at all. The brain, the multi-billion circuited nervous system connected, is not something that imagines anything. It doesn't see into the universe. It's not its purpose or function. When you daydream and imagine being somewhere else with your eyes open, say looking at a blackboard with a teacher and you're bored and you're thinking about being at the beach or a mountain or on another planet, the aspect of you that's seeing it is not the brain at all. It will see the light coming into the eyes from what's around it, and that will register in the pineal gland on the brain and be interpreted as there's the cat, there's the sidewalk, there's the blackboard. But while the eyes are seeing that and you're imagining something else, it is you, the being, that's seeing that somewhere else in creation. That's not fantasy. Fear can distort the images you see so they can be jumbled, like bringing back a very jumbled dream or a nightmare. People that do that have gone, before they go to bed, they're afraid of something, end of the world, something. And they take that out of their body with them and they go out and imagine and feel this stuff, and this Holy Spirit, this one energy, simply brings to them what they're imagining, good or bad or both. So you can see the importance of utilizing the imagination, which is what you emanate into this one power, for it to create new ways of doing things. It will imagine an entire transformed world with you if you imagine it. If people on earth collectively did that, this thing they pray to every day would transform this world in a day. If you catch my drift, we're responsible, whether we want to admit it or not, for the condition of this planet. And if we want to change it, bitching about it will not change it a bit. We have to use our creative abilities differently than we've been doing. And that takes becoming aware that we've been utilizing the imagination incorrectly. Imagining fear of the future, Armageddon, and then wanting a great future for yourself and your family. And they both go out into this one power, and it answers both. That's the real nature of what people call divine spirit, is a co-creator with us. We're meant to learn how to co-create with the source beyond all life through this process. This is the way it really is. I'll begin these tones now, and then I will guide us a little bit on a journey above the earth, outside the atmosphere. Because the energy that's outside of Earth, outside of that atmosphere, there's no medium in that energy where you can store negative and positive things. You can't store negative things in that energy in space. There's no way to do that. So you can't bring it outside the atmosphere of Earth. All that negative nature stays bouncing off the ionosphere within the atmosphere of the planet. It doesn't go out here. So we're going to go out in space and meet with some fellow beings from elsewhere in a form that doesn't need to breathe, doesn't feel heat or cold, doesn't feel radiation from the sun, and that's who we really are. It is a really holy thing, if you want to say it that way, to be able to communicate in the one first sound, the first word behind all creation again, to remember it, because it'll open the heart center. And you'll feel it in this area of the body, but it's really in the center of the being that's running the body. Brightens it. Wakes up higher faculties that have been dormant for maybe billions of years. Begins to help a person journey back to the source from whence they once came, while they're still alive. Very interesting. My body's in the sleep state, or what we call the trance state. I don't mean this as a hypnotic term. It just means the body is on automatic in a state of serene peace, I suppose. Breathing, heart working, blood circulating, lungs working. And I'm above it, above the body, as a spherical being, was shown at the beginning of this show. What it looks like. People call soul and don't have a clue what it really looks like or what they really are. This will help them. And I've learned how to work the vocal cords in this body and help it be a tool through which the hue comes to help others telepathically to be able to have their body go to sleep and to remain conscious. Be a sphere of being. Just imagine yourself hovering above your body near the ceiling, wherever you are. If you're outside, at 12 feet above your body, lying there. And you are spherical energy, the white core. It has layers of teardrop-shaped lights, self-effulgent, self-luminous, built-in layers of the spectrum of light. A white core, it's pure. It's kind of a white golden light, actually. And then the next layer that surrounds it, like concentric circles to make up a sphere, a certain thickness has a number of these teardrop shades in it, and it's yellow. And then orange, and then green, wider circle, then blue further out. Kind of lavender and violet and lavender, like the spectrum. And then there's a golden white energy surrounding it. Well, this is what you actually look like in the image of the source or prime creator. And it's made of exactly the same energy, identical in every way. But like a drop out of a mighty ocean of the same thing. No different than the source, same capabilities of creativity to help co-create new ways of doing things with that source, which is our purpose for existing. To be conscious, trustworthy co-creators with it. We don't worship that source. It does not require or request it. It is a source that supports all life in the lower dimensions of time and space, where the energy splits into two currents below what people call the void. It becomes this stream of positive and negative. It's supposed to be unified, harmonized, like DNA, two strands, with a golden white energy around it, so you can produce effect or a cause of an uplifting good nature without experiencing the opposite, repercussions in time-space. If it gets split into two particles so that the being mistakenly believes it can imagine good things and bad things and have fear and kind thoughts, and it starts putting out both things, the consciousness becomes split in half. And the spherical atma runs through that brain and body, this fear of the future and present, and then, also working to have a wonderful life. And this energy field out there that supports all life is a co-creator with us. It simply will manifest both. This is how people get trapped in bodies on Earth. It's a co-creator with us. Eventually, we're supposed to learn or recover or awaken how to use the imagination properly. It is a godly faculty. It is a goddess faculty. It is a higher beingness faculty. It is not something the brain can do. There's no motion picture camera in the brain cells, no projector screen on which you can see things. That's not its function. So whenever you imagine anything, the brain isn't doing it. You are. You are by the ceiling as a spherical being, looking kindly down on that sleeping body. Now look around you from that perspective above the body. You'll be able to see around you, right through the walls. Then be in space, up in the atmosphere of Earth, about 10,000 feet. And you are floating there as a spherical being. You can see in every direction, up, down, to the side. You're spherical. And you can see the same sphere that you duplicated hovering above the body near the ceiling. And you can see a thin white golden thread, an energy connection between the white core of your being The same thing you are, hovering in the ceiling by the body and then down into the pineal gland. And when you look around you, you're going to see that there are other beings here, a male and a female. These are guides. They aren't from Earth. They don't have subconscious minds through which they can be misdirected. And they are simply Galactic Alliance personnel. They also teach in what's called the Hue Expansionary Academy, which is on the other side of the void, in a higher world, higher realm. And they're simply there as a fellow spherical being. They're not interfering with your free will. They're not reading your mind or invading your psyche. They're simply there to help protect you on this journey. And you will see there are masculine and feminine, because you're going to see a form that looks human. Slightly pointed ears, a little bit larger eyes, beautifully dressed, about 36. They're showing you what their body looks like aboard a ship that's hovering outside the atmosphere of Earth. Because there are 4 couples on that ship, scout craft. 3 of them are running things, 2 are sitting in the back, asleep. They're out of their bodies. And they're showing you an energy projection of a perfect body form they have about 36. And then suddenly you see that you have the same type of body standing there in space in front of the sphere you are, perfectly healthy, about 36. And then they tell you that the bodies you're seeing they have aboard those ships is more than 300 years old each. And they look to be about 36 because the telomeres in their DNA do not shrink. This is a science they've long understood. They're helping you to understand this. Then find yourself in space suddenly. They're right beside you. I'm there. Perry is there. My cat Starlight, who looks as a sphere just like us. And there's a kitty body, perfectly healthy, standing on his hind legs with his tail glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight. And next to him is a being called Etta, 3 foot tall, much bigger than the cat. And he's got a smooth green skin, bulbous eyes, a long kind of a snout. Looks like he's amused about something. And he is a Dren. He's a silica-based creature. He's showing you what his body looks like on another world. And his tail glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight. And he's showing or teaching, Etta is teaching Starlight how to fly. And he's doing it in a form that's pure energy so he can fly in space with him and have some fun. He's a teacher. And then you can see that we're in a circle of beings, all of us on this show, on this radio thing, out of our bodies in space. And when you look at space, you're going to be surprised to find that it isn't black like you see in Hubble space pictures of outer space. It appears to you as the atmosphere as a white, golden, powerful, radiant light everywhere, underneath, above, and behind, and beside. The Earth you can see in the distance with polar ice caps, oceans and land, and the moon with all its craters, meteor craters, does not turn on its axis as it moves around the Earth, and the sun in the distance. You can see billions of stars that make up our one Milky Way galaxy, and you can see them clearly floating in this white golden light. What scientists and quantum physicists call zero-point or toroidal energy on Earth, what you used to call dark matter, well, it isn't matter at all. And it's not really dark except to human eyes, which can't see into a high enough frequency to see what it really looks like. But the Atma, you, hovering in space, and in this space there is no negative or positive nature. The void of space is not positive or negative. It is another type of energy that is a living conscious energy that supports all that floats in it. Duh. We all knew this once. You might as well begin to remember it. You are an energy, a spherical energy, floating in this white golden light that looks like the core of your being. And you can hear it moving through space. You can see it. You can feel it in the core of your being. You are connected to it, always have been. This is what people call divine spirit. It is not what they think it is. When people pray to this, they're actually imagining something, and it's the imaginative part of it that this listens to. And it will create good or bad according to how you imagine, Phil. So we want to do and imagine that which will be only of an uplifting, beneficial nature to all life, not just life on earth. All life, the most of which they call the Supreme Being, is out beyond earth, and in all of that, up through the dimensions. If you want to have freedom to play in that multiverse with the source, you have to be able to respect all the life in that source, and that means you have to know it, not believe in it. We have to have direct experience. That's the next leap beyond faith. And it takes the Atma leaping into this omnipresent field of energy to recover their awareness. It takes an act of faith to make the leap, but the leap goes into direct experience, and it's no longer faith, it's knowing, certainty. Now I'm going to introduce you to someone I've introduced you to before, and there's Turelian. Turelian is a being like us, a little brighter perhaps, and he's the center of the circle of beings we are. And you can see the body form that looks just like you, perfectly healthy, about 36, standing there in space as if it's breathing. You don't feel heat or cold. You don't feel radiation from the sun. You aren't nuclear or atomic energy that can feel such things. And there he is. And then you see a body begin to form, materialize out of the white golden light. It takes the shape of an 18-foot tall male being about 36. Long, slightly curvy blonde hair, bigger eyes than human, blue, beautiful blue, slightly pointed ears, kind of a white tunic gown and bare feet. He looks like a Greek god, and he's holding up two thumbs with the radiant white golden light around them. And he's simply holding the space here to maintain a channel of this constructive, uplifting energy for you as you're bathing in it, so that you begin to remember. You'll have someone supporting what you have not been taught to understand or have confidence or even believe exists growing up on earth, because it isn't taught there at all by anyone I know of. So you need to get this awareness from beings who are working and living in it, that live mostly outside of earth and who understand it. Pretty practical. And his body, 18 feet tall, is standing there, and he's smiling. And he's going to telepathically say to all of you, you'll hear it like he's speaking to you in your head, that he is a friend that represents a race of human beings that immortalized their physical bodies like the one he's showing you a billion years ago. They were genetic scientists from the source behind all life, and they helped develop genetic forms like human, different races, reptilian greys who were once all benevolent and vegetarian, and long ago in galactic history. And they helped get them up to spacefaring race, spacefaring capability, and then departed the scene for a very long period of time. They've recently returned to announce their presence, first to the Galactic Alliance Council. It's on a planet near the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And they're a council that meets under a white dome with a transparent roof on that planet. 5,000 members that represent more than 450 million spacefaring cultures on numbers of parallel dimensions out of 144 in the physical universe. And when this Turelian first appeared on a circular disc platform, and down the bottom, in the center was these white seats surrounded leather-like, and all these members were there, their consciousness was uplifted, and they became more motivated to be responsible to help worlds like Earth and others come out of this stupor they're in that's self-destructive. So they are now underway to do this. The first thing they had to do was police or corral tyrant races that were sneaking around the universe, breaking a treaty that was signed 500,000 years ago to steal humans, torture them, and put them on Earth and all kinds of stuff. That's all been stopped. That's number one. Here in space, when you look out and you see all these stars. You see this white golden light supporting it all. Dark matter, boy. They got to give that turn up, because there are scientists on Earth that know it's not dark at all. We just can't see it with physical eyes, not normally. It's powerful energy. It is the supporter of all life. If you want to play among the stars and be more advanced and go out of body and get rid of karma and reincarnation and maya and unconsciousness and forgetfulness, then we have to work with that energy respectfully, and each other respectfully. There's no shortcut for this. You're going to see a being appear to the left of Turellian. He's about 6 feet tall, short cropped black curly hair and black curly beard, bronzed of skin, rugged complexion, maroon robe with sandals, and he's holding a 6 foot tall quartz polished crystal staff with the Egyptian symbol for eternity, cross with a circle with an oval hole in it on top. It's a device. It's his symbol. It's what people recognize him with. In his body form, on Earth or other worlds, he utilizes this device, among 2 others, to get people to transport them to the source, where they become a master at it in their own right. He's the guardian of that tool. There are other ways to do it, too. And then off to the right of Turellian, you're going to see a man appear who's got beautiful pale blue skin. Emerald green eyes, long shiny black hair, slightly pointed ears again, and he's holding up his hands. He's in a beautiful kind of a full-length gown, and you see little webs between his fingers. And he lifts his neck. You can see 3 little parallel slits under his neck. This is a human being who also has Say-Rays DNA in them from long ago in galactic history. It's what the Say-Rays were doing. And they breathe on land or underwater. Their world is much larger than Earth. It's on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy in the 3rd higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. More advanced races can travel between parallel dimensions to worlds for trade and happiness and communication and collaboration. And so this is not a problem for them. Something you find out when you start working with electromagnetic fields and graviton things and antigravitic fields, because it will change the molecular time rate of the craft that it surrounds. You charge it up, it moves it into another higher frequency, and suddenly you disappear from here and become in another parallel. And they've learned how to find the natural openings or warps or interdimensional doorways that exist throughout the multiverse between all the 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe and up across a barrier into what's called the astral plane. Ships like they have do not cross over into the astral. When you get into that, it's made of a much finer molecular energy, and they have ships there that move through those 144 parallel dimensions. The only race I know of that was capable of taking ships across that barrier to populate and raise and develop higher genetic forms that Atlas could run their higher faculties through was the Say-Rays. And they've never shared how they do that with anyone that I know of. Opellum of the Oceanian race on the water-covered world with a few islands near the equator, the one with blue skin standing there showing you himself, is a master teacher as his master Ramu. So is Turellian and others that are with us. Some are members of the Galactic Alliance, Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, centered on the Ternami near the galactic core of this galaxy, not in the center of it, near it. There's another race that basically is in jurisdiction over a little more than half the Milky Way galaxy that is 10 feet tall. You're going to see them appear standing in front of Turellian, between us that circle him. They look to have ivory white skin, long silver, silver metallic-like hair. Looks like silver metal, but if you touch it, it's soft. They have longer necks and longer fingers and longer legs than we do. They're 10 feet tall. Beautiful. They move elegantly like a swan. And they have violet eyes, handsome, beautiful. They're showing you forms standing in space with the atmosphere hovering behind them. But they have stationed on their home world on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. Ziatranomon 1. Zetranomi is near the central core. Ziatranomon 1 is a Zentranomus race homeworld, 4 times bigger than Earth. It has 3 Earth-sized moons, clean, no polar ice caps in any of them, dome cities on each of them, and 3 suns that those planets circle. A blue-white giant, a yellow sun like ours, and a red dwarf in the distance further out. They long ago immortalized their physical bodies so that they don't age. The forms they're showing you are more than 3.5 million years old. They aren't trapped in bodies, they run them. The Say rays, like Torelling in the center of us in space above planet Earth, his race immortalized their bodies differently. They dematerialized them and stored the genetic pattern in one of the teardrops of their being. So when they need one to carry out a mission, they're not encumbered by having to run a physical body around, grow old and die, and go to the bathroom and eat and all that. They will manifest using the energy of the universe, the hue, the first sound, divine spirit, whatever you want to call it. They'll simply charge it, the DNA pattern, and then the body appears instantly, like the one he's showing you. And then he can dematerialize it and zip off somewhere else. It's very advanced. These are 2 types of immortalization, and you don't want to do either unless you're free to know what you are and not being stuck in a body. Otherwise, bodies become a prison for the Atma, living 3.5 million years in an aging body that you can't get out of. You don't want that. So this is what they're doing to enlighten or awaken people from Earth that should know this or are capable of knowing it, comprehending it. You are, whether you know it now or not. We're going to go on a little journey closer to the physical universe. We could go up to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, and we may end up there. That's across the void, known to Buddhist monks and other esoteric groups, because there are many higher realities above it. All Atmas like us originate from above there, long ago. Up there, there is no time and space, no molecules, no neutrons, electrons, atoms. It's a different energy. The same energy that fills the void of space in the physical universe. It's continuous, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. But it is not a being on a throne. It is not a tyrant. Some beings have taken it upon themselves in the lower dimensions of time and space to cause people to worship them blindly, without experience. And they are deceivers. And they are being dealt with as we speak, in a kind way, by what we call the silent mentors. They are the mechanics of creation that run and maintain galaxies and planets spinning on their axis and all that, interdimensional doorways. They are a kind of separate order of being from Atmas or spiritual masters, or whatever you call it, that have begun to work with such beings to share in a unique new way. In space, Turallion will point off in the distance, and you can see all the billions of stars of our galaxy, far away from Earth, the barren moon. But before we do, he points to Earth, and it changes. It raises in vibration. And you can see a world in the same place, Earth, but there's no polar ice caps now. And off to the left is the moon circling it, but this one's got oxygen atmosphere and rain and little rivers and little lakes, domed cities on it, turning on its axis, healthy, moving around the planet Earth and the sun in the distance. This is located, this Earth, in the 3rd higher parallel dimension from the one you're familiar with. Planet Oceania, where Pelham comes from, is also in the 3rd higher parallel dimension. It's still in the physical universe. It's not astral. It is another parallel of reality where a Milky Way galaxy exists that's in a higher frequency. To understand this, makes you aware of the multidimensional nature of creation. The Zentranamus couple, the longs with silver hair and violet eyes they're showing you, are in the physical parallel dimension where Earth and the Moon you're familiar with is also. But they're not originally from this galaxy. They're from a galaxy 5 galaxies away, quite a bit beyond Andromeda. And they migrated to this solar system and to populate worlds and to develop things as spiritual scientists, let's put it that way, genetic experts, inspired by Turelian and his race long ago in galactic history. And you're going to see another couple standing behind Turelian looking at you with silver hair. They have different color eyes. One's violet, one's golden, one's red. And they have a son about 2/3 their height who's not fully grown yet. He's a mature adult. Their body forms are a little more than 2 3/4 million years old. They are of the same race background as the Zentranamus. They just have different colored eyes. They come from the same planetary systems in that galaxy long ago. They're presenting themselves to you. They're 10 feet tall. They do have the silver hair and ivory-colored skin. These are master teachers. And if you ask them, they will help you remember more when you're out of your body at night. You go out of your body every night anyway. You might as well do something constructive and remember it and bring it back to Earth. This is not dangerous territory. This is not dangerous. The Atma is not, in the hue, cannot be approached by negative beings in or out of bodies, or negative misuse of technology. You're going to have to find this out on your own through your own direct experience, which is the only way you can really know anything. The hue will provide you with a certain protected energy when you begin to explore that you're going to experience for yourself as well. Comes with the territory. And then you'll be able to go with such beings as we're doing now in safety and harmony and serenity of being. Turelian points out into space, and you're going to see a conduit appear right in space above Earth, like a blue-green swirling violet surrounded energy field, and it's whirling clockwise. And you're going to see us all dart down this opening at the speed of light, beyond the speed of light. And you can see as we're moving through this channel, this interdimensional doorway, it seems like the stars are flying by us. We come out the other side and we're suddenly suspended in space above the planet Saturn. You can see the ice rings that form relatively thin, 1.5 miles thick or something, relatively thin, that circle around the gas giant planet. It has a number of moons orbiting it. And you look down underneath the top layer near the outer edge is a ship. It's a long, mile-long cylindrical ship with a bridge control room on the front. You can tell that there's another one identical to it on the other side. And there are a number of these 30-foot wide galactic scout craft glowing with their own pale blue light, an anti-gravitic field, an energy source they use. Really what they're doing is channeling the void of space through their craft to get around. They're not polluting anything. There's no rocket ships, no fuel this way. And they're moving into the central section one at a time. You can see a dozen of them lining up, and then they just seem to turn transparent, move right through the metal hull. And then you can see an opening. You can see through the metal hull and see it lower to a physical craft again. Then it lands on the floor next to a dozen others. It's in a long hangar bay, like the size of a football field in the center section of the ship. And this is an Emerald Star cruiser. It's an intergalactic craft. It is part of the Galactic Alliance of World Systems. It is very advanced. It is one of the smaller ones. There are some 10 miles long. It's designed to go through interdimensional portals like the one we went through as Atmas, but in a physical vehicle. Turelian, you can see standing in space here, the Atma hovering behind him. We're all in a circle, just like we were before. There's Ramu and Opelum and Etta and Starlight. The Dren. He's silica-based, not carbon-based. He has big bulbous blue eyes. He's got a photographic memory. He's telepathic. He's not human. He's kind, wondrous, loving to an extreme degree. He would die for you if you befriended him, and yet he's courageous to a fault. All the best qualities of a human being manifested through a non-human species. Interesting. He's a master teacher as well. And here we are in space above this big, long, cylindrical craft. You can see there are oval windows. They're horizontal, about 6 foot wide, circling the entire, just above the central section of the entire hull of the ship, except for the bridge on each end, the little windows around it. And we're going to go inside this ship in the physical universe by the planet Saturn, which is stationed there permanently for a while. And we'll get into that in a minute. But we're going to follow Turelian down to the hall where those ships went through. And we're going to go right through the hall as Atmas, all of us, until we are finding ourselves standing beside a conveyor belt like an escalator, but it's flat on the floor, that runs through this long, cylindrical, football field-sized hangar bay. On one end, you can see a triangular opening, and on the other, another one. And he's going to have us, our physical forms, which are projections of the Atma, pure energy that look like you about 36, stand on this belt, and we're going to be gravitationally grounded to it and whisked along until we go through that triangular opening, which is lit up bright with gold light. Remember, you are an Atma running this form. It's a projection, and the Atmas go right through it, hovering above those bodies. And then we come out another triangular open. You find that you are now on the left side of the ship, near the center section, looking out of a series of these oval windows, standing on this plush blue carpet. And there are hundreds of the ship personnel here, knowing we're coming, here to greet us. And there's Turelian. It's a very tall chamber. He's standing up 18 feet tall. He still doesn't hit the ceiling. And he's pointing to all these people. Now, some of these are human, long earlobes, snake-like eyes, snake-like skin, kind, bald, Asian, African-American, some with blue skin, green skin, red eyes, silver hair, like a couple that's standing here. The Xantronomos couple are here. And these ship's personnel have a little galactic symbol on their slip-on single-piece garments that is a pyramid, golden pyramid, over a silvery galaxy with 3 blue stars in a triangular formation above the apex. And that just stands for the Galactic Alliance. They're men and women. They all appear to be about 36 to 40 years of age. And you're going to see a couple stand up from a round blue glass top table, come sitting up out of white cushioned, egg-shaped chairs. These blue chairs, and they're standing up to greet us with their hand over their heart area. The Atmas, they really are hovering above these human bodies, which are about 6 feet tall. A little bit bigger eyes than humans on Earth, but human in every other way. And they're the commanders of this particular craft. When you go into the Savior's agenda, you'll learn their names. Then you can call on them by name and others, and you can get the guidance you need when you're out of your body every night when you put it to sleep to make some real consciousness awakening gains. You have to ask. They're not going to force anything on anyone. So now you're going to find 2 of these, a man and a woman from different races, will come up to each one of you on this journey and begin to have a conversation with you to welcome you here. And they'll let you know right away that they see the problems you're having on Earth, the unconsciousness, what we call implants, subconsciousness. And these people that are coming up to you are trained experts in reversing that process. They are not stationed on Earth, at least not openly. The technology is aboard this ship. as well. So if you want, you can go into a special chamber on the ship and you can start to get recovered. In other words, remember what and all you knew before you were made to forget it, put on earth in a body or stuffed in one. So trust yourself first in eternity as coming from the source, then trust them. This is the way to do it. You must respect them as fellow beings. They know what they're doing. They aren't tyrants. They don't want to control you. They don't want to own you. They want to awaken you to remember how you are relatives of theirs. Let's put it that way. There isn't a human being on planet Earth that is represented in any human form that is originally from that planet. And they're telling you this commanders of the ship. All these beings, including all of you, originated in human form or ran human bodies over several billion years out in the galaxies long before you ever incarnated on Earth. So the human form, in the form you know of on Earth in any race, did not originate or evolve from the primordial seas of Earth. They didn't come out of fish learning to walk on land. They didn't come out of Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal, which are extinct humanoid species. We're not connected to them. There is no, it's just theory. There's no proof, no verifiable proof that we are descended from them in any way. That's just theory. We aren't. They're looking for the missing link on Earth. They're not going to find it. When they've dug up 18 to 25 feet tall, perfectly developed human skeletons, they become classified because they aren't native to Earth. They're extraterrestrial, and that's classified. A Tyrellian can tell you that they were, or at one time, were part of the Say race. And they walked the Earth long ago in a history you can't possibly imagine how far back it goes. Let's just say that life from the galaxies has been incarnating or coming to Earth in different scenarios over 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. This is being shared with you telepathically when you're a pure being. The body with the subconscious. In other words, you carry with you an energy field around the Atma that has what these implants are. It's not in the physical body, but they're turned off here. And these beings will help dissolve some of those secondary implants so you can see out from the Atma clearly, at least through certain openings around the sphere that you are, and make progress from there. I'm matching what is being sent out from the lips of the commanders of this ship. Tyrellian is and then you can hear it connect to the energy in the atmosphere we're breathing. And then it connects to the void of space, and you look out the windows and you can see it's a white golden light filling that. And you're connected to it. For many of you on this journey, or subsequently thereafter, you will recover the ability to know inherently that you once knew all this, you were once part of this, long ago. I'll give you an example of how old you are as an Atma running and unconsciously running a body on Earth. Since you're not physical matter, you are made of an energy, toroidal zero-point energy of the universe. Call it divine spirit, omnipresent living force, first sound, first word, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is. It cannot be denied by a being who's awake. It cannot be. This energy comes with its own protection. When you start working with it, you're actually starting your journey back home to the source, which is far above the void. It's like going back home on the incoming breath of the source or prime creator itself. It breathes out and breathes in. There's a whole current that happens. When you look up, you can see there's a white golden shaft of light coming down to the central section of this ship, hovering in the ice rings of the planet Saturn. And it goes down to a pyramid in a lower chamber. And it's a 15-foot high golden-sided quartz cap pyramid sitting on the floor of like a storage bay. and in it is a fountain. You are suddenly inside surrounding it, and it becomes the size of, say, the Cheops pyramid in Egypt, because it is sitting in the middle of the ship, but it's not made of time and space. It's made of, that's right, the hue itself. It's capable of stationing itself in physical matter to transmit a certain energy. And inside it, you see this fountain. And in the center of it, we're all standing around it. And the fountain is a white alabaster sculptured thing. And there's a statue of a being we call Satnam, means true name. He's simply a being that runs the plane above the void, the first one. And he's got his hands down to his side with his palms open, facing outward. He's bronzed of skin, bald head, about 36, looks like from India. Beautiful, radiant, golden eyes. 2 golden bracelets on his upper arms. It's the statue. And you can see this shaft of golden light coming down around this form, out his hands, filling this bowl. This radiant, luminous, golden white sheet looks like water. You could taste it. You could breathe it in. And it's dropping through the floor of the ship and then pulsing out in donut-shaped energy circles through the hull out into space. It's stationed on this galactic interdimensional alliance of free worlds, Emerald Star Cruiser. There's another pyramid you can see standing in this chamber, much larger, stationed between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter, roughly equidistant between both planets, where a planet should be and once was. It circles around the sun in the orbit of a planet as a destroyed world. And you can see these circles of energy pulsing out like a breath of wind, passes through the core of your being, and then connects to the center of an identical fountain in that huge pyramid in our solar system. And then it sends itself offward out into space, where it's connected to those that have manifested between stars. And then it goes to Earth. You can see it inside this chamber. And it connects to 3 pyramids, 2 stationed on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, and 1 inside a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalaya. And it connects to them and pulses out into the world, and then goes back out into space to connect to others. It's continuous. There is a new ray or consciousness form of creation running through what people call divine spirit, or the word or the sound, that didn't exist before, about 8.5 or 9 Earth years ago, in all of creation. And it's designed to do one thing and one thing only. It can exist in physical matter, but it isn't physical matter. There is no weapon or technology of any race anywhere in the lower dimensions of time and space that can affect it in any way, shape, or form. And it's turned on and running. And it's designed to do one thing: to inspire in individual Atmas running bodies to only use their creative imagination to bring into creation new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life, not just life on Earth, all life. Then you find yourself hovering around Turelian outside the ship in space, looking down on it, stationed in the ice rings of Saturn. Turelian points upward, and you're going to find that we are suddenly hovering. We're not going through a vortex this time, direct projection. We are in a brilliant cobalt blue atmosphere, somewhere in the higher worlds above the void, looking down on 6 snow-covered mountain peaks high above them. And in the distance, when you look out, you can see a huge circular landmass with a white glowing beach surrounding the entire circumference. And this blue energy surrounding it, it's floating in this energy. There's no suns, no moons, no stars here. There's no day and night. There's just light and sound and light. No fatigue, no tiredness. And you are floating in one area. This is the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. This is in the plane, stationed in a parallel dimension, specially created here between the 5th and 6th dimensions above the void, known to certain groups on Earth. And you can see a blue glass administration tower off to the western mountain on a lower plateau, coming out of a white marble floor 100 feet across, rises up many stories, has a flattened spherical area, and comes up to a minaret point, and it's glowing. You can see right through it. And you look inside it, you can see in a large area, you're suddenly inside this huge sphere, flattened slightly, and you're looking at an identical fountain in there, but there's no statue. It's just a shaft of white golden light filling the bowl, pouring over the ends, dropping down the shaft of this tower. And there are 3 levels of white marble seats. And you're going to see men and women sitting down watching us who are master teachers in the U Expansionary Academy. And the Atma they are hovering above those forms. Those forms are pure. They're not material bodies. They just show you what they look like should they have one. And you can see you are showing them the body you have, perfectly healthy, about 36. They teach instructors all over this huge floating landmass. When you look at the blue atmosphere outside this dome, you can tell it's backed by a white golden light. And that blue energy here is about recall and remembering, not the mind, not the emotions in the lower worlds, but who you are as a co-creator with the source that you've long forgotten. And then you find yourself outside this dome, looking at all the people sitting in it. Then you find them outside the dome, creating a sphere of individual atmas surrounding all of us, including Torellia, Ramu, Opelum, Etta, Starlight, the Zinternamus couple, the Das Mentalis couple with their son from another galaxy, 5 galaxies away in the physical universe. Opelum. And you see these beings descend, part, and go off into different directions. You look at the blue glass administration tower and the white marble floor it comes out of to the west. You'll see a white roadway continues to the white beach, several miles in the distance or further. And then another white roadway and another, and it goes through the entire circumference. It goes into the mountain ranges through caverns, comes into an opening into the central hall of that interior where there's a huge shaft of white golden light, continues through tunnels on the other side, and then ends on the beach that encircles the entire landmass. Now we're floating high above these mountains, and you can see that there are domes and pyramids and tall silo buildings and different roadways, different right and left turns, all over this landmass. When you're here, you cannot bring any negative emotions or imagination with you. They are remaining in the lower dimensions with the bodies you have. They're turned off. So here you are your real self. There is no fear, no negative nature. There is no fatigue, no tiredness. You don't sleep here. This is who we really are. This place was built to help us communicate with each other, to create new ways of doing things, to retire the failed experiment of evil in the lower dimensions of time and space. There's a being approaching us now who's going to introduce himself to you for the first time in the people of Earth. Well, maybe not for the first time for some of you, but he looks human with a white dress. He's got long, slightly curvy blonde hair. He's about 6 feet tall. And the Atma behind him, coming down from the sky above and floating near Torellian, is 4 times larger than Torellian's, with twice as many teardrop layers, brilliantly luminous. Now he is the head, what we call silent mentor, and he represents a race of beings that run the mechanics of creation. This is the first time they're beginning to disclose themselves to people in the lower worlds. And it's done here. They have teaching facilities in 4 quadrants of this huge floating circular landmass. They don't teach on a blackboard, they teach by example. When you look at his face, you can't see features. It's a white light, and you look into it, you can see all these multi-dimensional levels of galaxies in eternity. This is how they think and dwell. They have not been involved in caring about the evolution of souls before. They were too busy 24/7 keeping everything in place, from the highest to the lowest. Now they're mixing it up with master teachers here and us in order to imbue us and us with them a more compassionate nature, and also to help us understand the freedom they have. because they can appear anywhere in creation, from the highest dimension, many planes above here, to the ocean of sound and light, all the way down through the void, through the lower dimensions to Earth, anywhere, instantly, in any form, with no limitations of time and space or distance whatsoever hung over their heads to carry out a particular mission. You wouldn't even know they were there. They could be a bottle cap on your table and you wouldn't know it. They keep everything running, galaxies spinning, worlds, suns radiating, doorways between dimensions, multidimensional levels. This is just an introduction. All you need to do is be in his presence for a short few moments. And then you find yourself all the way back down, hovering in space above planet Earth, with that big continent centered over the equator, no polar ice caps. It's in the third higher parallel dimension. There's the moon, lakes and rivers and dome cities on it. And then you see this emerald glowing beach down at the southern point of the continent, stretching from the left or the right hemisphere of this Earth with no polar ice caps. And you're drawn to it. It can glow. You can see it from space. It's a crescent, half-moon shape. It's about a third of the way up from the southern pole, near the downward point of this continent. There's another continent on the other side. To this day, that's called Lemuria or Mu, and Epler Atlantis on the other side. But this isn't the one that was destroyed 100,000 years ago like it was on Earth. No. This is a place where advanced scientists and master teachers work. And this moon, alive, and this Earth is going to be used as a prototype to change the way Earth and the moon is where you are one day. You find yourself looking down and you see your bare feet wiggling your toes in emerald green sand that's glowing a foot above the sand. And you look at it, you see you're standing in a curved beach, the jungle behind you, and a single snow-capped mountain off to the right with a waterfall cascading out of a cavern opening 2/3 of the way towards the summit. And to the left, down below on a lower plateau, a big dome covering three four-sided golden pyramids with quartz caps. There are little white ovary dome dwellings, a little blue-green lake, mountain range semicircle in the background with waterfalls put there for the benefit, aesthetic pleasure of the people that work there. And you can see out to sea, there's Turellian standing up to his knees with his two thumbs still up with this golden white light around them, smiling. And the being is hovering above it. And you look down and you see this beautiful green energy moving up your legs, up your face. You smile, you look up, and there's you hovering above it. Goes into the white core, out to the green layer, and starts turning on some of these dormant faculties. And then you find yourself hovering above in space, outside of any negative influence, where it can't exist. You're in space, hovering above the world you're familiar with polar ice caps, the barren moon, sun in the distance. And then you're hovering above your body, wherever you may be on Earth. You're a sphere. You're charged with a little bit of brighter green light, and you've been on a journey. There's a little white golden cord of energies extending from the white core of your being to the pineal gland and brain of that body that's in this trance state called sleep. And you're going to send this experience gently, a little stream of it into that brain, light it up a little bit, and let it flow through you in every direction until your aura is 2 miles wide. And let it continue past that field, out into the planet to connect to those 3 pyramids, out to other pyramids, and just know that you're co-creating your way out of this trap and that you are beginning to do your part to take on the responsibility in eternity to become a co-creator with the source itself. And then when you're ready, open your eyes.
Wow, excited. Silent One is there too today.
Excuse me?
Silent One. The top silent one or the silent one?
They choose to introduce themselves, if they will, to people on Earth or people out of bodies, really. But they're even more advanced than the Say race, so you can't comprehend them anywhere below the void. You got to be in the upper reality. And then, we're capable of doing that. So if you go there, you're going to bring a little part of that awareness back to Earth. It's going to change the brain and body you grew up with. You call your Perry, or I call Scott. It's going to make it brighter, more intelligent, more wise, higher IQ. In fact, these kind of journeys put the IQ of a person on Earth beyond count. 10,000, or you can't even measure it on Earth, because not relative to the limits of a brain, if you get my drift. So do you think the listening people on this journey would have any questions that I could answer now, or we'll wait and see what happens after you put this on your YouTube channel, right?
Me, myself, I have questions. Today, people are going to Saturn to remove their primary implants, right?
They can if they want to. Here's the thing about creation. Unless you can either be guided or remember on your own to see what it's like to be out there, or to go to another world, or to go to a higher dimension, you can't get there. So if you can't remember any of it, then you can't tell this omnipresent living force to take you there, because it's a co-creator with us, and it only works off what you imagine, good or bad. Or beyond good and bad, that which is designed to be helpful to all life, which is what we're supposed to be doing. So these journeys help people recover how things look like out there, what they used to know, and they begin to remember. As you know, you begin to get more confident. You begin to say, I used to know this stuff. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I, Scott, to go on the ship on Saturn, can read from your book too, the series agenda.
Yeah, because that trip is Mark Sandfield and his cousin Janice Carter go there to get liberated. They don't remember. They were from other planets. They're just as shut down as each of us. They had contact with kind humans and other life from other worlds that helped them remember. Same thing can happen for everybody on Earth. When they're capable of walking serenely in their own self-confidence, standing in the center of their own gravity, not worshiping anything or putting anybody on a pedestal, but just respecting all life, including their own, then they can have those kinds of journeys and experiences. It's just kind of the criteria for it, People that spend the effort and time to work with people on Earth are so unconscious to recover this aren't going to waste their time and energy by giving it to someone who's not ready and asking to co-creatively do this. And they have to contribute co-creatively to the process through imagination, or it won't work. They have to be respected as a being to act godlike, and then create that condition so these beings who are quite adept at what they're doing can help us recover that. It's real free will is what it is, true free will. So we want to recover true free will first on Earth. Why? Because people think they have free will and they don't. How can you say you have free will if you don't remember who you are, what you are that isn't physical, that cannot die, what you used to know before you were born? And if you can't remember any of that, how are you expected to make good decisions without all that wisdom of eternity to carry with you into this life? You're going to make mistakes, many of them, because the wisdom to make correct choices is replaced by fear of the present and the future. And that's always, every time, misdirecting. It's negative. So we want to start to discipline ourselves to not use negative imagination and emotion, not to give energy to such things. When you do that, the whole universe begins to open up to us. Okay, Perry.
Okay, thank you for the journey and the show today. We see you again next week, Scott.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay. My best to everybody listening. I wish you the best. There is no negative nature in what I do. You're just going to have to find this out for yourself, how I can live on Earth and be like this. But let's face it, it's how we really are. So I'm really setting an example of how we really are. It doesn't make me superior to anyone. It just means that this is what we really are, and I'm holding a space until people can feel comfortable and confident enough to leap into it. That's like leaping into the eternal energy in the universe, trusting yourself in it. Only direct experience makes all the difference. So I will say good night, pleasant dreams to everyone. Good night, Perry.
Bye. Bye, everyone.